in the university's own problem solving. So I said, can you be trusted as an individual if and when you begin to find you're admitted to great knowledge and you begin to apply it to solving problems of humanity, are you confident that when that happens you won't suddenly be Mr. Big?
Yeah.
Can you really trust yourself to always remember you were a throwaway? The only reason you're doing this is you're a throwaway. It's not you personally at all. You're demonstrating what any individual really could do if they're not overwhelmed by the system. And really become completely inspired by the integrity of the greater regenerative universe itself. So I really am glad to say here we are in the air, that I have found myself trustworthy, that I have not committed myself, allowed myself to, as I said earlier, be a cult leader and never to get out making money. Enormous amounts of money come my way today. I don't never ever try to do anything about money making or saving it. All of it must go immediately back into research, so that for the last 20 years I've been able to command enough credit to do about $250,000 worth of research and development each year. That's when you're really knowing your way around, can be tremendously effective. So I've been able to get an enormous amount of technology realized by virtue of this. I like very much being with you, and there was something I put in the fourth part of my book, Synergetics, which is my discovery of nature's own coordinate system, which science is not using, and science is using very esoteric, very awkward and mathematical language that 99% of humanity can't understand, all on assumption that we are in a flat world going to infinity and x, y, z coordinates, perpendicular, parallel, all logical, etc., etc. Nature is not doing that. She's doing things divergently in radiation, convergently in gravity. She grows this way. She doesn't go parallel and perpendicular. And so I have found it, and I did publish it. In the foreword of that, I put the words, dare to be naive. And really, the thing that really makes it very pleasant being on a program with you, I saw really committed to being daring to be naive. That's the only way you'll ever learn anything.
You made a statement in your book that you have to remember, I don't know if it's in your book, it's in my notes, that neither you nor I know anything about everything, that we really don't know all there is to know about anything. We must approach it that way. I like what you're saying about remembering. You see, people get a cause, whether it's just within their family or whether it's within a community or whether it's in the world, and they forget that that cause was born out of not knowing what to do with themselves. And your statement, remember that we're a throwaway, and that I have to identify to that, you see, because I reached a point of my life where I have to say I was throwaway. And from that point, I began to build a life, and it's very hard not to become Mr. Big and to remember, wait a minute, you built this all out of you, who was throwaway. And that keeps the humility down, which keeps the free thinking going. It's a very important statement. How old are you? May I ask you that?
I'm 83.
83. I didn't do the mathematics when you were telling me it.
I have now the capability to say certain things because I became a comprehensive student of what I called a world inventory of resources, human trends, and needs. And I found that we were continually learning in an invisible world of alloys, an invisible world of electronics, how to do much more with much less, to converse around the world with just a little piece of apparatus, instead of having to go around a great ship. So keeping track of all the ways we do more with less and converting that into technology, particularly with the home environment, I was able to say 10 years ago, it is now clearly in evidence from an engineering design viewpoint that we're now using only proven technology, using only metals that have already been mined that are recirculating. Within a 10-year design revolution, we can have all humanity living the highest standard of living anybody's ever known, during which, and this would be completely sustainable, because during that 10 years, we can phase out all further use of fossil fuels and atomic energy. We can live entirely on our energy income. Now, you make a public statement like that and you get checked up. There are probably 1,000 people check me up very carefully. Some million people now pretty sure that I really know what I'm talking about. you spoke about dooms people. You don't have to know anything to be negative. You have to know a great deal to be positive. Now, I only am able to be positive because I am a technologist reducing things to practice. I actually have the structures out there and the maps out there. I now then came to the most extraordinary realization that all the great governments, all the great religions, all the great businesses would find it devastating to their activity to have humanity's success. They're all predicated on man being an inherent failure. There's going to be suffering and so forth, and comfort him and follow your leadership. So even though I now know this can be done, whether we're going to be able to exercise this option is very touch and go. It's all going to depend on a new young world coming through. And that new young world, every child being born in the present of less misinformation, more reliable information. And it is in love with love and love with the truth. And it may be able then to come through and exercise this option.
In watching interviews recently on the air over great controversies of religious organizations, I heard heads of these organizations states that doomsday and gloom is what sells. And if they preached a liberal doctrine or freedom doctrine, that they would not collect the funds and they would not have the support. That liberals will not support liberals, but doomsday people seem to feel if they pay someone, they can buy their way out of it. You come along and say in 10 years we can enjoy this total freedom as a, well, maybe as a promise of an earth of peace. We are in conversation with Buckminster Fuller. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Psychic Phenomena, the World Beyond. We are in conversation with Mr. Buckminster Fuller. And during our break, you said that you would like to say something at the opening of this segment.
Well, before I get to saying what I wanted to say, I have listened to your commercial, and I'm usually very annoyed by commercials. And I saw that you felt it sort of was off our course. It really wasn't, because I think if humanity... I now know humanity has the option to make it on our planet, which means we'd come to a point where nobody's having to earn a living anymore. It does not have to be you or me. We're in for a new chapter of humanity in the universe. And it's going to be something very different to look at, and we will talk about that. But I think humanity is now in what I call a final exam as to whether we qualify to stay here. And I'm not talking about political leaders. I'm not talking about religious leaders. I'm talking about humanity is having its final exam, whether each individual really is going to warrant humanity staying here. We as individuals are going to be able to do things. That's the thing that's really going on, where we have literacy, which was humanity was 90% illiterate when I was young. Today we're more than 90% literate. Everybody has a vocabulary. All humanity has always been born naked, helpless, ignorant, hungry, thirsty, curious, having to learn by trial and error, having to invent words, how to compound our experiences so we help one another, how to write them. But suddenly we've come to a point where there's enough information about humans and the universe. And the older people had made so many mistakes of interpretation of the significance, where there is, for instance, today, humanity is still, though it knows we're on a sphere, knows that we are on a planet going around the sun, it is still thinking geocentrically. We still have the sun going around us. I've spoken to a number of scientific bodies. I've asked every scientific body I speak to, any scientist present who do not see the sun going down in the evening, no hands. I said, you're 500 years behind coordinating your own senses with your own knowledge. We're living in the conditioned reflex of a flat earth, which is a wide, wide world, still to say that, four corners of the earth, don't we? Mm-hmm. Still say up and down, which it goes along with the perpendicular to the same plane. Mm-hmm. All those words manifest that humanity is now still celebrating hundreds and thousands of years behind our actual knowledge. So I see that no matter whether the little individual is going to have the integrity, once you call this to attention, to stop using the words up and down. You're all using it. The right words are in, out, and around. You go into the moon, into the earth, into Mars. You go out is any direction. But you go out and in, not up and down. Mm-hmm. Now, just go outstairs, just dare to say that for a week. want the individual to say, not to have some teacher at school. You yourself